You have to tell him the real life situations. And when he got his opportunity, he got out there and showed out. He did his thing when he got in the game. And when I spoke to him and pulled him to the side after the game, just from a spectator perspective, I expressed that, hey, I'm proud of how you handled that. You know, you showed your true leadership today, because he has those type of qualities. So we as adults, when you recognize those type of qualities in kids, whether you have a deep personal relationship with them or not, just pull a kid to the side and say, hey, I like how you handle that. Because sometimes kids act in a way and they don't know if they did the right thing or the wrong thing. We need to reinforce that.
Good day and welcome to the Get Established Show. Today's topic is communication with your kids. We've got a couple special guests in the room today that's going to help us chop it up and make this thing a little more lively. So please hit that like button and share it out to your friends. And let's get this topic popping. So I'm gonna pass it over to my brother, Chilla.
Grand risings, everybody. Today's a good show. To my bottom over here, we got Alexis, Devon. We also got a great MC on the show today. His name is Charles Big Rose Sneed.
Good morning, everybody.
And on the wheels of steels, we got Gerd Big Williams.
What's up, good people? Let's get it popping.
And I'm going to turn it over to Alexis.
Good morning, fellas. So today we're going to talk about how to effectively communicate with your kids. So we're going to discuss the difficulties that we as parents sometimes have and how we come across when we speak to our children. And we're going to figure out some effective ways to communicate with our kids. So Mr. Sneed, I like going by last names. I'm going to pass it to you.
All right. Today's topic, how to effectively communicate with your children. There's many different ways that you communicate with your children on various topics in various settings. So my first question, and I'm gonna direct this question to Bigg. First question is gonna be, do you communicate with your children the same way you do with other kids, or vice versa?
For the most part, yep. I'm old school, so the kids that are around have probably been around. They're used to my style of parenting. Even when I was coaching, I treated all the kids the same. I mean, they all need direction and guidance and all of that. So, yep.
How about you, Chris?
Well, me, I mean, it depends. Like I said, I might be a little tougher on a male than a female. A lot of times, depending on what situation it is, you want a kid, like I said, we'll tell a kid to act a certain way, not to, be a certain way. And with your daughter, you might be a little more lenient. So I would say with me, I raise them a little different. You might be tough on a boy, you might be a little softer on a girl for certain reasons.
How about you, Alexis?
I'm gonna keep it real. I don't like other people's kids. That's something I'm working on. I never wanted kids. I didn't want kids. I don't really like kids. I love my children. So yeah, I give them the world and feed them. I'm actually working on that. I just signed up to be a big sister, like a mentor program, because that's something I need to work on. Because a lot of kids need help. So it's not just my kids in the world. The kids are our future. So I'm working on it.
Indeed. For myself, as someone who's been active in the community, like as a youth coach, involved with the youth in church, mine just tend to be based on how familiar I am with the kids. My kids that I coach, indeed, I talk to them in the same way I speak with my own son. especially with the boys. Like Chris said, you kind of got to be, you want to be a little bit more firm with the boys because it's going to be more difficult for them growing up as men. Not saying it's not difficult for girls blossoming into young women, but it's a different set of rules, different set of expectations, you know. So, but in the church aspect or other aspects, it's kind of different because you're not that familiar with them. But I still try to be as honest as possible with how I communicate. I believe in speaking to all kids in complete sentences, you know. So yeah. Anybody else got anything they want to expand on that?
I
was
think
saying, go ahead, Alexis. No,
what you said is true. Like that, I believe the same thing. Honesty is key. You know, like I know you guys are Black men raising or mentoring Black men, and that's a whole different level of stress with the atmosphere now. But it's also stressful to raise Black women into, you know, show them how to be a mother, show them how to be a wife, show them how to, there's a lot of single mothers now. So you got to show them how to run a household, you know. I keep it real. You know, my oldest, she's 14, but at 6, she knew how to swipe the ATM card and put the alarm on the door, you know. So I like to keep it honest and teach life skills to children as well, because a lot of children are sheltered, and something happens to the parents or anything, they're lost in this world after that, you know. So you got to keep it real. You got to be honest.
All right. What was you getting ready to say, Chris?
I want to say, I know this is a topic when we talk about, you know, like we saying the kids we raise is easier than, you know, raising or reaching out to somebody else. A lot of people, the way the world is today, don't want you to say much to their kids. If I'm familiar with the kids or I'm like close with the family, or like y'all say y'all coaches, so it's like I'm not, you know, been out in the community coaching. But, you know, when you around certain kids, you know, you might try to tell them things that would benefit them. But a lot of times the way the world is, the people you encounter, sometimes they don't want you to advise their children anything. You know, so it's kind of hard when that question to me is, and I understand what Alexis is saying, because some kids can be rude. You ain't my daddy, and you're like, okay, and leave it alone. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the day. I mean, back in the day when we were growing up, you know, like I said, the neighborhood did raise us. You know, I was fearful of doing something because I knew it was gonna get back to my parents. You know what I'm saying? I grew up in an era, and I was shocked to hear people that's older than me talking about my teacher never beat me. If I had up in school, I told you my teacher beat me. I got beat by the principal. I come home, my granddad would beat me, my grandma would beat me, and then my dad got off and beat me. So it's like I learned my lesson. Like, dang, one incident got me multiple beatings, so you knew not to do that again. And so it's like I ain't, like I said, we had issues with people saying about beating. I can't tell somebody how to raise their kids. I just know the situation, the way I grew up, it could have either break me or made me. And I realized some of the things that I didn't understand, what I had to go through my parents, it shaped me into a better person.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because I like I said, I seen kids that didn't get the same thing I got, and get up in the banks, out here reckless because they didn't have no filtering. They was like doing what they want. I watched a gentleman up my street. Mama didn't discipline him, so he got so to a point that when his mom said something, he started beating up his mama. So it's like it's hard when we had these discussions on kids because somebody might I feel that compassion because some parents go overboard, but as far as reaching to other kids, you know, I feel like we all need to reach out to kids. We all need to, like we had a conversation on Black role models. We need to be role models to our children, and our children need to respect the elders as well as the elders need to respect the kids. A lot of times, like me, I'm in a profession with kids, and you'll be surprised some of the kids how they feel because of how their parents talk to them or how they react and be angry is because of the lack of communication with the household, as well as how their mama talked to them.
Right.
They'll go to school rebellious against the teacher, all because they got fueled already how their mama said things and did things with them. And so now they go to school hot. And since they can't take it out on the mama because the mama beat them, they'll go home go to school frustrated and take it out on the teachers. And the teachers just trying to do their job. But see, it started at home with the lighting, lighting a few. And when they get to their destination, they on fire.
Yeah. So let me go right into this next question, and I'm gonna direct this at Bigg because I'm kind of familiar with you, but kind of share with everybody your difference in how you communicate, because you have a son and a daughter. Right. So how is your communication different with your son and your daughter?
Well, first off, it's 5.5 years difference between them. And when I say I treat all the kids the same, all the rules apply. But with me knowing the kids, or knowing or not knowing the kids, there it is a different process. My son had an ultra hard head. Ultra. I'm talking about just hard headed, and he used to be real hyper when he was growing up. So it took a higher level of focus and management to get him to a place that he could be tolerated by other people, because that's part of the role as a parent. And you send these children out to the world, you ain't supposed to send Tasmanian devils out.
Indeed.
Out and just be disrupting and tearing up and all of this stuff while they in school, when they supposed to be acting like, behaved people, because they got people that's raising them at home. My daughter was much easier. Her demeanor was completely different. So the rules were the same, but how I dealt with them was different because of their personalities and what they needed. My assessment of what my son needed was more rigidity than my daughter, because she would just listen. It might be 9, 10, 11, 12 episodes of correction that I got to get him in line, where I could say one thing to her and she would make her adjustment.
Right. But not necessarily from a discipline aspect. Look at it with communication from a different aspect. Like, for instance, dealing with a issue like sex, okay, when they were young, because I know they're grown now, but when they were young, was your communication, give us examples of how your communication looked with your son and how the communication looked with your daughter, or what was the difference in that and how you communicated the do's and don'ts, the expectations, those type of things.
Well, I know with my daughter, and both of them, I kind of started with along the gender lines early, explaining to my son like how he's supposed to treat a lady that's with him. Why you walk on this side, because that's a point of protection. Why you open the door. Like, when you're around, it's not just when you're in an environment, and this is bigger than just the sexual conversation. I'm gonna walk down that street.
Yes, that's fine.
But I had to explain to him that if you're a male and you're around a bunch of women, you're the protector for all of them. You gotta understand that even though they may not be with you, if you're in a situation, then you have to kind of look out for everybody. You almost got to scout and see what's going on. With my daughter, the key points that I put out to her was I always had the conversation where I said, look, is that lady like, what I'm saying? I was like, you need to, tighten up here. This is how a lady presents herself. Mm-hmm. And that's the comment. Those are the ongoing conversations of things about, crossing your legs appropriately. And just having a good demeanor. Certain things about, and is also the personalities of your children.
True.
Mm-hmm. My daughter has always been a really soft-spoken, easy child. So with certain things I didn't have to correct that was from her behavior about being ladylike, because she just had that soft demeanor or whatever. But when it came to the conversations, like you said, about sex, with boys, the conversation with boys is a little different because, man, it is a respect thing. You got to explain that I'm the respect of dealing with women and not taking them any further than they want to go. Being courteous and being caring and just being clear. Just like I want to communicate with you and I want a clear outcome. I want to know exactly where we are. You got to communicate on that level when you're dealing with a young lady or a male, and that's something we had to talk about, intently before college.
Yeah.
Because it was more, every day you're on your own. There ain't no check-in point. I mean, other than the phone. There was a lot of, conversation we had to have with that before college. With my daughter, it was just an easier conversation, I guess, from her standpoint, because I told her, I was like, look, I said, when you look around, the difference between what people view as someone that is ladylike and someone that maybe not. And there's the line.
Right.
It's a sharp line right down in the middle. And I was like, you always want to be on the side of a lady. I said, so you have to respect yourself, because if you don't respect yourself, the guy's not going to do it, because it's a certain time frame in guys' life that they can be just, a little more wild. Not saying that the girls can't be wild too, but it's known that the guys is, they sharking at a certain point.
This is very interesting to me because I kind of have the younger kids than y'all have, and it's completely different now. So I feel like you automatically tell your children how women and men are supposed to act. I have a conversation of sexuality with my child. With these modern kids and gender roles and other things, you can't assume that they're going to like men. And you can't assume that they're going to like women. So I don't have those conversations with my 14-year-old. Now, she doesn't know I've gone through her Snapchat before, having her phone. I would never tell her that because I've invaded her privacy. But she was having conversations with another female about LBGT and is she bisexual and all these questions she had. And I asked her, because my daughter, she's kind of tomboyish. I'm a girly girl, but my daughter is her daddy's child. She likes to be comfortable. I don't force her into dresses. I don't do those things. She doesn't have crushes on boys. She's the odd child. I don't want to say odd. She just knows who she is. She's confident in who she is. So I don't force her in any directions. But the conversations I have is, do you like boys? You got a crush? You like girls? Are you gay? Yeah. And I do it jokingly, but I want her to be comfortable to be able to tell me if that's what she is, to know that I like her either way. But it's crazy because the way she'll ask me, she'll be like, Mom, I'm 14. I don't know what I am. That's her answer. I'm 14. I don't know if I like boys and girls. I don't know. And she'll look at her classmates and be like, why are they depressed? They only 13. What they got to worry about? That's my child's mindset. So I have to parent her differently, because she has a different mind. She's an old soul. She likes Black Sabbath, old rock band, She can talk to her teachers. Her teachers, they listen to the same music. She identifies with them. So I can't treat her like regular children. So I just listening to Bigg, when you were speaking, you were like, well, I tell her how a lady's supposed to act, how this and that. Well, hey, they might not like men. They might not like women. You can't assume these days and age with these gender roles. It's crazy. We talk about gender roles and who identifies what. She'd be telling me what it means. She'd be defining it to me. And we have these conversations because I don't know. I come from the day where girls like boys and boys like girls. So transgender, all this stuff is now. So you got to talk about
got
it.
a valid point with that. It is,
very much so.
That's just the standards that
Full disclosure with me, my son is 10, and my conversation with him looks like the conversations I had with my father growing up. Like I like, yo, one day you gonna have that crush. This is gonna happen. The other day I had a conversation about one thing that's gonna happen is you're gonna have your heart broken 2 or 3 times. Alexis, I like how you say you communicate, with your daughter. That's key. To keep those communication lines open. My son is sheltered. I got him in a homeschool environment where it's just 5 or 6 students. He's been with the same teacher since kindergarten. I never had to put him in a like child care type setting. My in-laws basically been his child care. So my son has kind of an old soul, but he's still 10 years old. And he plays that game, and I listen to him and his little boys communicate over the things sometimes when he doesn't hear me. So these 10 and 11-year-olds, they be wilding out and talking about all kind of different things. But I make sure that my communication with him is honest first, and I try to structure it to keep him focused on what his expectation is. It may, you may agree. Some people may agree with that, and some people may not agree with that. But I've had the opportunity. I got a stepfather. I grew up with my dad. I lived in the house, with my father and my grandfather. One of them. So all I know is man speak, and being raised by men. I've seen some things, and our communication have always been open with both. So I structure that communication based on how I was raised. I do that with my son. And I've given him, an opportunity to come to me with whatever questions he may have, whatever views he may have, but I haven't put him in that school type setting where he's like communicating with other kids for a long period of time. Once your rite of passage is when you're in school, in the halls, in between classes, lunchtime, on the bus ride to school. We've been blessed enough to not have him in that type of situation for educational purposes only, not out of fear. But the last couple of years of what I've been hearing what's going on in public schools, it is a level of concern. I won't call it fear. I'm gonna call it concern. But not to drag this out too much, but just to, Alexis, you brought up a good point with, with everything with the gender and this, that, and the sexuality, and it's
the pronouns,
yes,
they, he, she, role, gender, assignments.
Yes.
And my daughter is into it. She wants to go to the medical field, so she's watched like medical procedures when they change their organs, and we have conversations like wow. She's really like, and she gets frustrated with the LBGT community, and she just goes off on tangents. That's her dad stuff. So, I don't know, she's a special child. She's so like aware. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. I know your son you say he's sheltered, but I think you'll realize as he gets older, these kids are aware. And sometimes they come up with their own ideas. And to your point earlier, when we were raised, our parents told us things. Mm-hmm. They lectured us. I have to adjust myself sometimes with my daughter because school and the way the world is now, they tell these children to express yourself, to talk about things.
Oh, yeah.
We, back in the day, that was looked at as talking back.
Indeed.
Yeah.
But now it's not talking back. They're expressing themselves. So like you said, we got to be open to allowing them to express themselves respectfully. You know, like, you're not going to cuss at me, you're not going to yell at me, but if you have an opinion, I'll listen. And I do cut my daughter off sometimes. I'll be like, I don't want to hear that, you know, because I'm old school. Yeah. You know, her dad he works with kids, and he's more open, and I'm not. So I'll call him for backup. And that's why I said my point. That's why I signed up to be a mentor and stuff, because I got to get out of my own way, and I got to be around other people's kids to know kind of what's going on, you know, because I'm not in that position. All I know is my kids. That's all. Yeah.
Let's roll right into the next question. I'm going to direct this at Chris. When you communicating with children now, what form do you think is best? Do you think communicating with old school values, the values that you were raised on, or do you think it should be adjusted to the modern times? Which one do you think would be more effective?
I mean, first of all, you got to understand, we can't approach a lot of kids the way we was approached. They're a little different than the way we was raised. I think a message from the heart reaches the heart. So a lot of times when I do talk to kids, and those who do, you know, like sit and listen, they hear me from a compassion that when I'm talking to them, I try to, if I can talk their lingo, I talk their lingo. But a lot of times when I talk to them, they get it, you know, even no matter how old. If I got a 16-year-old or 15-year-old or whatever child who I'm talking to, they get it because I try to talk their same lingo. Not saying I talk everything, because their whole wiring and thing is way different than ours. So like I say, you listen to Alexis, and I didn't even talk on the other thing because I know what Bigg was saying, how, you know, the kids, because I didn't have that conversation. My dad never had that conversation when I was in school and different stuff. Most of our stuff came from education or going to school. You know what I'm saying? PE, they taught you about sex and all this. And today, these kids, you ain't got to conversate with them at 13. They already know 10 times more than you knew at 13. You know, so it's like when I talk to them, and I'm hearing the conversation, some of them be on the phone, you be surprised at 13 what the conversations be. You know what I'm saying? And we can get up here and play Cosby, but this is a different show, you know, with these kids today. It ain't like they way mature and grown than when I was. And I know how I was at 13. I know I was real grown doing some want to be grown up stuff. And I'm like, I'm listening to some real grown up stuff at 13. And I know these kids. So I'm looking at them like, dang, was I really like this at 13? I'm tripping because I gotta go back in time. Like, God dang, hold up, I was 13. Well, oh yeah, I was. Oh, I guess he piquing his curiosity too, because I hear how he talking on the phone to a girlfriend, you know, and I'm like, wow, they off the chain. So it's like we can play like we want a certain way, but these kids, you got to realize if we was a certain way, you got to realize when I look at a boy, that's why I say if a girl involved, my mind go back, boom, when I was 13. Oh, man, yeah. Hey, watch him. Watch. You're going to be automatically like that. Every father going to be like that if they was real promiscuous when they was young. You know what I'm saying? We grow up. So it's like communicating these kids. You can't bash them because they get rebellious. A lot of them would get rebellious. So it's like you want them to respect you, and you try. It's hard to tell you, don't be their friend, but if you want to get into them, get close to them and have a relationship openly so they can talk to you. Because some kids can talk to me that won't even talk to their parents. You know what I'm saying? Because they feel like their parents going to look down at them and say certain things. And it's like, you can only give them the best advice. You could tell them, look, you too young doing this. Look, you might wait and find somebody good doing this. You can give them the best advice because we grew up. We made a lot of errors. So I can tell them my tribulations and my errors. And all we can do is give them a testimony and hope they go the right way. Some will listen and some will chew. And I could say even like, I have told her, you know, my daughter, I had told her a lot of stuff to prevent her from doing the same dumb, foolish stuff I did. But still, sometimes they listen. Sometimes they got to go through it. It's just to venture through the headaches and pain. Then like, you didn't have to go through that. I told you that was going to happen. You know what I'm saying? True. But they'll just do it.
Yeah. Bigg, what you think?
I think Chris nailed it. Nah, I mean, seriously, I think he nailed it, man. I mean, it's a complicated. It is I got to agree with Alexis. It's a complicated world now. The things that it felt tough when we were growing up, but it's just so much happening now. And one thing I have noticed, I'm just gonna be honest with you. It seems like the girls are more aggressive these days than when we was growing up. Some of the things I see young girls do, there might have been one girl back in the day when we was growing up, and it's like, and we had this conversation about on the show before. I mean, you don't know the good girls from the bad girls because everybody twerking.
Hey man.
Well, that's pushed by society, sexuality, being an Instagram model, wearing weaves, eyelashes, all of that stuff. Like, I don't even do weaves and eyelashes, and I'm grown. It's just.
But that's probably why.
Well, no, I mean, my daughter is 14 and chose to lock her hair. Who does that? And she.
Hey, but look, I want to say one thing. I hate to cut that off, but the thing is, even if we go back in time to when we was 12 and 13, the people today are pushing the kids to make grown-up decisions that they don't even know they are making. Exactly. They're too immature to make these decisions. But yet the way the media is pushing them, see, it's okay. Like I said, you wouldn't tell a 12 or 13-year-old it's okay to smoke weed. You wouldn't tell a 12 or 13, okay, you can do acid. You won't tell a 12 or 13, okay, you can go out here and drive a car. No, you would tell them 12, okay, you can go out here and go to war. No, but you are telling them to make a sexual decision. And they're too much immature, because when I was 12 and 13, I ain't know right from wrong. It took me to grow up. I'm going to tell you honestly, I didn't start getting mature to my late 20s and 30s when reality started hitting. I was still in a young, even though I was grown, my mind was still in a young state of mind in my 20s.
Yeah.
Right. That was my point.
How can you tell these kids to make grown-up decisions when they 9, 8, and 12? And I think us as parents, we got to, it's called guide them, protect them, because we let the inside forces tell our kids what's right for them, and the parents ain't saying nothing. A lot of times we sit on the sideline because they pick up these habits from schooling, they pick up these habits from TV, they pick up this habits from the media. But we are the guardians. They see the media and the TV and the teachers not feeding them, they're not clothing them. They're not putting them under the roof. They're not paying for their college education, but they get to tell them what they should be or what shit they should do. But we don't want to survive. We don't want to go through all the suffering. We there when they hurting. We there when they crying. We there with that. But so it's backwards. We have very little voices in our children's life. And I know the curiosity, and we supposed to talk to them. I'm not telling no kid to do anything. All I'm saying is I look at my life as a young child. I couldn't make some of the decisions these kids are making because I knew I was too immature to make these kids. And I'm around kids and I watch how they act. They're not grown enough to make certain decisions they are making. Yeah. That's even, you can't tell a 12-year-old it's okay to have sex. Go out here and have all the fun you want. No, she's too immature. Mm-hmm. What? Yeah. You are telling these kids.
That was my point with my daughter. Yeah. When she said to me, I'm 14. I don't know. And she hit it on the head. Like, she literally looked at me and was like, Mom, I don't know. I have no idea. And it's true. She real. She don't know. So a lot of these young kids, society, like, I agree, they push certain ideas and aspects of people. Like, when you watch TV, they're going to have a gay couple up there. They're going to have all these things. Like, when we were younger, that really wasn't on TV like that. Like, I went to school with one guy who was gay. He's always been gay, always has. We all knew it. One guy. That's it. Now, you see these people in the hallways kissing, holding hands. It's pushed. I think the agenda is pushed. And Indeed. That's the point. That they don't know. They see what they see on TV. They form it if it feels good. And this world is all about feeling good. With drugs, sex, eating, TV, it's about feeling good. So to the kids, if it feels good, they're going to do it. They're not thinking, and that's the point that Chris made. They're not thinking about what they're doing. So it sat right with me that my daughter looked at me and said, "Mom, no, I'm 14."
Yeah, that was kind of the foundation of my question. And how I look at it is, I feel like we have to, if you were raised a certain way, you have to keep that foundation and that type of structure. The fundamentals, I say. Fundamentals will get you further than anything. With fundamentals, do you have to expand a little bit? Yes. And this is coming basically from a coaching perspective too, with kids. Fundamentals, you have to keep it, you have to keep the foundation solid. With the, and Bigg can attest to this. You mentioned the ages 13, 11, 12, and 13 in Portsmouth. You was in a certain area. You went to Churchland Junior High School. And I can tell you right now, every type of kid, we encountered every type of child in Churchland Junior High School. You had the teenage pregnancy. You had the kids from the hood. You had the white suburban kids. You had the black middle class, which were borderline, like, what society considers middle class, and then what we would consider middle class, all in the same building. So you talking about every kind of situation you want to encounter, you encountered at 11, 12, and 13 years old. For one, because it was a dude at Churchland Junior High that was 19 years old with like 3 kids. No games. I'm not playing. It was kids in there. It was dudes in there 17, a couple of girls in there 15, 16 years old. And you just knew how kids acted that didn't have a solid foundation at home. They didn't have that mother or that father or that grandmother or that grandfather communicating with them at all, let alone effective or honest communication, because there's different levels of communication, right? But I think that you got to keep it foundational, and different situations call for different type of things. Had a young boy yesterday, one of the top 3 players on my son's team, had to sit down for the first half because of attitude issues during the week. And I watched this kid and how he handled that situation. The conversation with him was, "Hey, I like how you handled that. Understand that this is part of being a leader. Continue to lead your team. And when you get your opportunity, you get in there and perform like you need to perform." This kid has a different type of people out there to mentor him, that speak to him, because they recognize the talent, and it has to be harnessed. You have to tell them the real life situations. And when he got his opportunity, he got out there and showed out. He did his thing when he got in the game. And when I spoke to him and pulled him to the side after the game, just from a spectator perspective, I expressed that, "Hey, I'm proud of how you handled that. You showed your true leadership today," because he has those type of qualities. So we as adults, when you recognize those type of qualities in kids, whether you have a deep personal relationship with them or not, just pull a kid to the side and say, "Hey, I like how you handle that." Because sometimes kids act in a way and they don't know if they did the right thing or the wrong thing. We need to reinforce that.
Right.
With how we communicate with them. And, and this, I agree. All of y'all hit on real solid points. And, I think that, Alexis, when you get into when you get into that mentorship or, that big sister role, I could just tell you the most important thing is don't take anything personal. Always understand that kid has to see somebody other than you, but don't alter your communication based on that. You got to be honest with them. You got to give them your perspective. if you give them your perspective and keep it right and keep it true with them and keep it honest, they'll respect you more, whether it's a difference in opinion or not. Let me roll into this next question. We're going to kind of shift gears with the communication aspect a little bit, based on what we had to deal with this week, with the verdict on the police officer in the George Floyd case, and then the other isolated incidents that follow. Alexis, how did you have a conversation with your daughters about the verdict and what happened, and give us a snapshot of what that looked like or what that sounded like?
I get upset at my daughter because like I said, she's a different child. I'm all about African American stuff, documentaries, the verdict. So I'm like, hey, did you listen to the verdict? She was like, yeah. It doesn't move her. So this is what I can say. My daughter is 14. She looks older. She has locks. So I often tell her, you can't do what Becky do. That's my code word, Becky. Mm-hmm. You can't carry yourself the way Becky do. You can't do this. You can't do that. The older she gets, she's realizing it and seeing it, but that's not on her forefront. She, in this world, they don't really separate race. You understand? They, in school, want us to be kumbaya-ish. And I have to tell her, this ain't no kumbaya stuff. So she in the kumbaya world at this point. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. The way I raised her, she knows who Emmett Till, all of that. You know, she was watching Malcolm X when she was younger, talking about get my hands out your pocket. Like, she know. You know, I've taught her that, but she chooses to not be as enthralled in her culture as she needs to be, which I know is going to come back full circle later. But to answer your question, it wasn't a big deal for her. Like, we didn't have this passionate conversation because she's in a whole nother world. I talked to her, I bridged the communication, but I think in the future when she starts living and she sees the racism blatantly and it's affected with her, then we'll start having these real conversations. But right now, I can't have it with her because she's so... She don't, you know, I'm black fist up in here and she be looking at me like, Mom, you know, and I'm just like, I don't know.
She's in a protected environment that allows that process to be like that. So she feels comfortable. But she's in that bubble. But that bubble gonna burst at some point.
Yeah.
Reality hitting. Hopefully it won't throw her completely out of whack when she gets the reality of what the situation is.
I mean, she sees it. We talk about the shootings. We watch the videos together. We sat there and watched the Capitol riot together. It just hasn't hit her. For me, I want her to care more about her race. You know, because like I told you, she'll fight for the gender equality. She be talking about Native Americans and stuff. And I just be looking at her like, you know, so she's just different, you know, and that is my hurdle with her in raising her. She's just such a different child. And my other child is 3 years old. She off the chain. I already know. So it's like I'm trying to prepare myself. I think that's why I entered mentoring too, because I'm used to my first one being laid back, chill, and I can already tell that the second one is off the chain. I need some help, guys. You know, like I'm not beyond as a parent to say I need help. I know I need help with this other one because she act just like me. You know,
that's good when we can recognize that though and reach out, because there's people always around you that can help you out. But if you don't say something, they don't know to, you know, everybody got these, you know, everybody like in their own fortress nowadays, as opposed to when it was when we came up. It was more of a village mentality. And now everyone is like building a fortress around them. And that's hopefully what, you know, some of the conversations we have here can start breaking down walls, because we are better together. And we can do more and we can help more people together. But we have to be granted access today, where in the past people just was like, hey, look, don't be doing that. Don't be doing, you know, and it wasn't, you know, of a elder said something like that to you, 9 times out of 10, there might be a one wild day where you having a wild day and you may feel like you want to assert yourself. But 9 times out of 10, you're going to fall in line with that from our generation. And it's funny because it's about, I think it's like maybe 8 years difference between me and Lex, and just what she was saying, like the one gay kid at school. And it was, Ro, Chris, we came up in Portsmouth. You better not demonstrate no female tendencies as a man. You know what I'm saying? It had to be no question. It wasn't acceptable. You would be ridiculed.
They they rolled in totally different circles.
Yeah.
Those were the ones that was the 1 or 2 dudes that was in the pack of 4 and 5 girls, and they having lunch together, telling jokes and doing their thing. It was kind of tabooish, basically,
Yeah, but to your point, your original question, like, I don't think these kids, but it also depends on where you're raised. Like, you guys are from Portsmouth. I haven't been to Portsmouth. Okay. I wasn't raised like that. So I not like in that way, but I didn't see teenage pregnancies. I didn't see drugs. Like, my parents, I didn't smell weed or really see alcohol until I went to college. I ain't had no proud pork chop.
Hey, look, I'm gonna tell you something funny. I'm gonna tell you something funny. I didn't even know high school was high school until I got to high. Because when I first got there, I thought high school meant getting high. Because when I went to the bathroom when I got 8th grade, everybody in the bathroom was getting high.
What?
They was you could go in the bathroom just to use the bathroom in the male and get a contact. But people was in there selling alcohol, selling weed, selling everything when you walked in there. If you wanted anything, it was in the now I'm an 8th grader coming into high school, it was just like lean on me to me. Before Joe Clark got there. When I went there, that's how it seemed to me going in there. Because I wasn't doing none of these activities till I got to high school. Because everything was introduced to you.
I wasn't exposed.
It was like everything was introduced to you through the high school. You saw a little son in junior high, but when I got to high school, it was out the chain to me.
But I'm gonna tell y'all,
and like you said, it was teenager pregnancy. It had grown. I think dudes was in school when I got 8th grade. I could have swear it was dudes in high school still 21 years old. They had beards and a little older than us.
Come on, yeah.
So it's like you got to realize we going back to 80. 85, 86. You see what I'm saying? This is way back then. So it's like it was different.
Yeah, I mean, this is why I chose an HBCU, honestly, because I wasn't raised like that. So I said to myself, self, I got to be able to operate in both worlds. You know what I'm saying? So I was like the Cosbys. Growing up, white neighborhood, only Black family on a white street, predominantly white school, preppy. So I was like, well, let me go ahead and carry myself to a HBCU because I ain't gonna make it if I don't. You know what I'm saying? So I smelled weed. I never really tried in school. Had my first fried pork chop in college. My mama didn't fry pork chop. She barbecued them. Okay?
Oh.
Right. So when I had that fried pork chop, I was like, So this is what I'm trying to tell you. It's all about how you raised in your environment.
Right. It was like you was like a chicklet just cracking the egg when you got to college, looking into the world, you was sheltered in the shell, and you stuck your head out when you got to college, seeing all this crazy stuff, like everything was new.
I saw stuff and learned things. It was an eye opener for me. And like I told you, I'm back in Winston-Salem now. I moved here 2 years ago because this is where I found myself. And I was like, well, let me come back because I need to find myself again in adulthood, and that's why I moved from home again. But I value college. I value my experiences. But like going back to your point, I've always had a foundation too. Mm-hmm. I've always known right from wrong. My parents did parent me. Even though I was still sheltered, I know how to operate and not be a Tasmanian devil in this world and how to be a lady, all these things I carried with me into college, even though I was in a different atmosphere. Do you understand? Right. So getting back to your point, it is all about the foundation and what we put into these kids, because they're not going to forget foundation.
Right.
That don't go away.
That's
the
right.
times may change, the atmospheres, environments may change, but that foundation won't change as long as you instill it.
I haven't really conversated maybe to one young kid that been around me, and I guess it's very awkward, but he kind of in the same way I think for some current reason. So it's like I can share views with him, but I try to, like with him, I just make it aware that you can look at TV and you don't see a lot of justice for people of our tone. So when you see the verdict, I didn't want to give a lot of energy to it, because it seems like the TV drains you, because your expectation is like, I'm tired of seeing this happen over and over and over. So I watched it from a distance, because there's so many people tune in and it's depressing and anxiety, and that TV it pulls you into it, and you go through these emotional roller coasters that people don't know. We go through roller coaster modes because we don't know what to expect. And boom, when it said guilty, I'm like, okay, don't celebrate yet. Don't jump. Exactly. We got it. Because that guilty might be 5 years. That guilty might be 2 years. We don't know.
Gotta see the
Don't jump like you celebrating, because then you're gonna be mad. There won't no justice. He ain't getting no time. You don't know what's getting ready to happen, because people have did so much to us in history and got away with it. We don't know what to expect. So it's like, I'm not celebrating. I'm just watching. Okay, that's one step. Let's see what's the next process gonna happen. That's one small victory, but I want to see the man get life. I want to see, because he took a life. Let's see him get life. I don't want to hear 5. I don't want to hear 10. Life is my answer. But look, this way gonna crowd. When the lawyer get up there, he gonna say, well, we had a victory. We didn't get what we expected, but it still was a victory. We got some sentence. We got some time. And we just, okay. Something better than nothing. And then I'm like, okay.
So how old was the kid that you were talking to about it, Chris? Roughly?
He was like 15.
Okay.
My conversation with Nigel was, did you hear about the verdict yesterday? He was like, yeah, I heard them. They found the policeman guilty. I was like, how do you feel about that? He said, it was wrong what he did, so I guess he should have been punished. I said, yeah, you're right. And then I explained to him a couple of differences and a couple of things to expect, and and it kind of opened the door for me to explain why, I have rules, why he has rules, why it has to be a disciplined structure in the household. Different rules for different races. Because of my family background, that's delicate for me. Real delicate. So I explained to him the whole background, and this was like 30-minute conversation. Just to let him know, like, hey, when you out here, you need to conduct yourself a certain way. And sometimes even when you're conducting yourself properly, depending on who you're dealing with, something inappropriate could still happen. But, I've created a foundation of faith with my son. Spirituality is big. I actually had the opportunity to baptize my son because I am a deacon. And that's probably one of the highlights of my life. And he totally understands it. And he developed his own. I created a space for him to develop his own views on spirituality. And, he's getting some of that in the school he's in. And he basically understands people are people. He looked at it more from a perspective of there's good people and bad people, because that's how I prefaced it. Because even though we had this situation, in some of our own communities where it's just us, we can't even walk out the house and go to the store without encountering 3 or 4 ills. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it's a catch-22 with us. We got to look out for them, and we got to look out for us.
Mm-hmm.
And I explained that to him fully. And he received it well. Honest communication. You know, I had to be honest with him. And I talked to him the same way I'm talking to y'all. Because, you know, I mean, Bigg is familiar with my father. Like, coming up, you know, young adults, my father could sit down and hold court and have a conversation. He could have a whole 15, 20-minute conversation with Bigg when Bigg called the house for me. They'd talk on the phone 20 minutes before I even get to the phone. And my dad pulled no punches with his words. And I want to model myself behind that because I feel like it was vital. It's vital for those adults to communicate. You know, my dad really wasn't, I didn't grow up with my dad wasn't a typical dad. You know, my dad was in the street a little bit. And a lot of his peoples were in the street a little bit. But the conversation from his friends with me was, don't let me catch you out here. Or, you know, this ain't even you. I've been in the back seat as a kid with my father and his friend, and you, Daddy, that smell different than the cigarettes you smoke. That don't smell like the cools. Shut up, boy. It's a cooler in the back, ice in it. My soda's in it, and there are beers in it. Dad, can I have one of your beers? Shut up, boy. You better get one of them sodas out of there. You know, even from his friends, even growing up, when I was graduating, his friends would always give me constructive criticism and try to point me and deter me from taking the path that they took. But the conversation was always honest. It involved a little profanity and some upfront, you know, conversation, but it was necessary. And I think that, you know, I think a lot of that, even though I did take some of the paths I took and encounter some negative situations, I think that it prepared me to deal with it. When I've been pulled over a couple of times by the police, and the interaction was always, yes, officer, no, officer, here you go, officer. One time they asked me to get out the car. I gets out the car. Can you slide to the middle of the street? Yeah. All the time, 4 and 5 cop cars pulling up, and officers all got out the car, and they formed a triangle like they flanked. And here I am, 6'4", 360 pounds, T-shirt, baggy shorts, and Timbs. And I got police officers flanked in a triangle, 1, then 2, then 3, it's 6 all together. You fit the description. But because I had a solid driving record with plus points, 0 warrants. The reason I got pulled over because I was doing 50 in the 35 going down the Azalea Garden Road flying. And my mother's a claim, and she lived in Florida. She had the Florida tags on. But because of how I conducted myself, I think that's what got me off. You know, so those
How
are the.
How long ago was that?
Oh man, that was I want to say 96.
Yeah, I think policing has gotten so much worse since then. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's I don't know.
I mean,
I've been pulled over too. Like I had someone in my car who fit the description, and they pulled me in a black Suburban because the light went out above my license plate in the back. I never got ticketed for it, but they made me get out and they searched the car. Now, me taking my constitutional law classes at Winston-Salem State University, I knew that they didn't have any right to search my car. And I could have refused it at that point, but I did not. But I knew my legal right. So he went through the car, and at the end of the time, he was like, I'm so sorry, you know, we got to do this. No, you don't. You understand what I'm saying? I knew he had racially profiled me. So I'm not saying that in the 90s it wasn't any worse, but I don't know. Just with the Ma'Khia Bryant situation too, with her being shot in the chest 4 times, would that have happened in the 90s like that? I think we're in the wild, wild west right now with these guns and stuff with the police officers. So,
I think it's situational. I think it's
situational.
Situation dictates it, and the officer that you're dealing with. Because while I'm standing out there, and you got to understand, I'm already prepared. Because you gotta. I'm looking at these 6 officers, and ain't nobody got no smirk on their face because I'm easy going. Game faces was on, and I made it my business not to have my game face on. All right, because when you used to dealing with a certain type of thing, I mean, when you see 6 people and it's just you, and you see on their face that ain't no games being played, you better show that you ready too. But I had to force that off me and still remain pleasant and calm, and that came from my grandfather because of what he's saying. I've had a family member found in a tree, hung on a rope, had that. So my grandfather, always prepared me for dealing with those. Always be on your best behavior. I don't care what the police say to you. Do what you're told, do what you're asked, answer promptly, speak up, use your words, proper diction. Don't come at the police with slang. Like, just present yourself in a way, like, minimize those chances by not being ignorant.
But you know what that is? That's foundation. You understand what I'm saying? These kids these days don't have foundation.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what it is. I think it's lost. Parenting, and this is all about conversation that we're having today. It's about communication, open communication, dialogue with these children. Mm-hmm. There's no dialogue. The TV, the media is raising our children. They're seeing these cops shoot people and things like that. So they're combative when they get pulled over already. You understand? Yeah. They get their game face on. Like you said, you had to dumb that down. They automatically gear up. It's war. You understand what I'm saying? So it's about communication. It's about parenting.
Yeah, I mean, she just said something that's realistic, just like that. That young man got gunned down with the taser and whatever. Mm-hmm. I mean, even now, what us being the skin tone again we are. You watch news and TV so much, and watching all these polices, shooting somebody, and even if you say you ain't got to be a good aid. Say you in the world and you doing a little wrong and you might got a little weed on you, you got alcohol, and you didn't go to court for your traffic ticket, but you still ain't a bad kid. You just young and immature. Police pull you over and they got their guns already. And in your mind, and you might even had a little bit of weed and alcohol on you. So your mind ain't clarity. Great. And you see them and your mind, your heart pounding, boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom, man. And you thinking, just the other day, a young man just got gunned down with the police and he had his hands up and I got weed on me. I got some alcohol on me and God dang it, I do got a gun because I'm scared somebody might shoot me under my right seat. Oh my God, it ain't for me. I'm using this for protection because I'm scared because, all these black on black crimes. And I'd rather be prepared, and go to jail, judged by 12 and carried by 6. And all of a sudden, give me your registration. And you start taking off because you scared. Bow, bow, bow. That's all you got. And I look at that all the time because half of these cats getting killed are scared. They're not doing this because, I'm a macho and I'm bad. They are terrified because they see what's going on TV all the time, programming us. This is what we're going to do to you and get off on it. We're going to murder you. So you rather try to get a way to live and turn yourself in later than for to be in that situation right then. And even though you might be waiting, your mind might be telling you whatever. You people don't realize, because I hear people, he should have just stayed there. You can't tell somebody what they're going to do. Because even with me, my heart be bound. I don't watch dudes and I wouldn't even swing and kill a fly, take off running out of field because the police pulled up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm saying you can't, and so many people want to play judge until the gun on them.
Yeah.
Man, if you seen your brother hand up, your brother a good working hard man, and I ain't got power, and the police shoot him. What you doing? I don't know. I done seen a police shoot somebody, and after they done shot him on the video, tomorrow, I don't know. They just shot him. I don't know. Why you shoot him? I don't know.
Yeah, that's all
the habit. Just wanted to shoot, so I don't know. So
yeah,
it's like
that's a whole different show, bro.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's a whole different show. But what I'm just saying at the end of this, I'm not trying to take it off our show, but we were just talking about, with the policing and stuff and the decision. These young cats, and I'm just saying with young mans, sometimes we can't judge everybody by what they're doing. And and I'm just gonna say this because we, just to not go back to your last question, if you got another question. But the young lady had a knife in her hand, and it's a bit controversial with that murder as well. Because she called the police and she had a knife and she got shot. So it's like, it's just crazy, man.
Yeah. Big. I know your father was a sheriff. He spent some time downtown. What was his communication with you like, as far as how to deal with law enforcement, or when approached by law enforcement, or did y'all even have any dialogue about those type of things?
I don't think we ever had a direct communication, but he would tell me, be careful who you have in your car. Because his whole thing was like, I'm down here, I'm seeing everything. Because he worked in a courtroom.
Right.
His primary job wasn't in the jail. He worked in the courtroom. He's a bailiff in the courtroom. So he said he see it all the time where people getting somebody a ride, they get pulled over and somebody stuffs some drugs in their seat. But since it's their car, it's their drugs at that point. So, I mean, he would tell me stuff like that to tell me, you stay out of this area of town and this and that. And, sometimes I listen, sometimes,
My granddad used to tell me stay out of church all the time. And then that's the first place I'm coming.
And see, this is the thing that kind of always got me, because I actually was a volunteer for the police department in the city. It was a friend, Kurt, he a viewer of the show as well. Him and his brother were being fostered by a police officer and a deputy. They were married, a married couple. And they had this program called the Police Explorers, and man, we were just down there hanging with them, for real. Like, it really wasn't. But even with that, it was Kurt, his brother, me, Ron, I think maybe Kenny. They didn't really have nothing really that was in place to really do anything to draw people to it. I think it was supposed to be like a interaction thing, but it didn't help. It didn't help when I was getting stopped by the police and I showed them my ID. It didn't help. I remember one time I had my speedometer was broken in a Celebrity, and I guess I was running probably 60, 63 or something like that in the 55. I got pulled over and I gave the cop my driver's license and my volunteer ID, my Explorer ID. And this dude got belligerent with me. You should know better. Such and such, blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, damn, what happened to the blue wall? the wall blew until somebody black. You know? Indeed. But they didn't, it was just no respect, man. It's like, we walk around here, we have built this country. We have supported this country, and we continue to do it as Black and brown people in this country. We are, the mass majority are at the bottom of the totem pole. We are supporting the entire system. To this day, we are supporting the entire financial system of this country, and we get treated the worst.
Indeed. Well, I know we're getting pretty close to wrap up time. But Alexis, I do want to ask you this. Have you found that, being that you attended HBCU, And you say you grew up in a, you grew up in a white neighborhood, basically. And then when you went to the HBCU, how do you communicate those two different experiences with your 14-year-old?
I made her live it. She went to a majority white school in Wilmington, and after school, she went to the Brigade Boys and Girls School.
Oh, wow. Wow.
I do that on purpose.
Oh, indeed. Yes.
Yeah. So I want her to be able to navigate in any place, any culture. I don't want her to be scared of her people. Reason I moved to Winston-Salem, I don't know if y'all know about Wilmington, North Carolina. That's where the 1898 race riots happened. So it used to be a Black city. It could have been probably the next Atlanta. Wilmington, the white people came in and stole the businesses, caught them on fire, killed Black people. That happened in 1898. So a little bit of that is still in Wilmington, North Carolina. So I purposely moved to Winston-Salem. It's culturally diverse. My baby is going to high school next year, and her teachers recommended her for all honors courses. That would not have happened in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Oh, wow.
She's Black. She would have just been like, oh, okay, you just going to high school. They don't want to push her. Do you understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So in order to save my kids and not have them a little sheltered or not have the best advantages, I moved from Wilmington, North Carolina. So it's all about positioning. It's like a chess or checkerboard, you know? So I had to position my child right. And I tell my daughter, everything I do is for a reason, you know? Like, you went to Brigade for a reason, you know? And she feels comfortable amongst all races. And that's what good. I want. I don't want her to, and I think that's sometimes what's wrong with our people is that they can only operate in one world and not both worlds. You understand? And that's important.
Yeah, you have to, you know, and I do that and communicate with my son and, you know, anybody like, and if I have an associate or somebody I'm dealing with and they have whether it's a teenage son or daughter or whatever, always try to encourage them. You know, you have to live life in the world. There's different peoples, different cultures, but you know, I'm trying to prep my son to be able to just conduct himself respectfully in this world, to be able to openly communicate in this world, communicate with people that look like us and communicate with people that don't look like us, to be able to speak to whatever opportunity is presenting itself, whatever type of communication is needed to get him in whatever door that he needs to get into. You know, you can put him at the door, but he has to be able to open it, walk through it, and do what's necessary. And I think a lot of that gets lost in our community because of communication. I think a lot of our kids are lost or are experiencing things or are acting out or just followers because they don't know how to communicate. Communication is leadership. Even if you're not in a leadership role, your leaders have, if you are a leader, you have to be able to communicate effectively. And even if you're not the manager, if you can't communicate effectively as a manager, as a CEO, as a COO, or whatever the case may be, you still have to be able to communicate effectively because that will position you to be in those roles or either ownership. Because, you know, the big thing now is everybody teaching ownership and encouraging ownership and things of that nature, but you have to be able to communicate effectively. Chris, you know, you've been real profound in your statements about communication, man. How about you just sum this, you know, kind of give me your whole take on how you feel like or what just any type of effective communication looks like. How about reeling it in and just we're gonna leave you with that.
Communication, basically. We just have a relationship with your child. Don't be scared to talk to your child. Take time out to listen to your child. Try to understand your child. Try to do things with your child. When I say take time, I mean sit at a table. Make them put down the phones when y'all have dinner and have a conversation. How was your day? Find out at school. Find out what's going on. Find out, is he being bullied or she being bullied? Find out situations. Learn your child. Learn everything about them. Tell them how you grew up. Tell them, share about their grandmother. Let them know their history. Let them know how the world is and how to prepare them for the world. Don't send them out here around wolves without them having a shield or knowing how to protect itself or knowing that what to be aware of. Sometimes critiquing your child, like Rose or like Alexis, giving them some guidance will make them, even if they get pulled over, even if a policeman with a bunch of kids stop them, they will know how to react, instead of just being grumpy and doing something and some bad consequences happen. So it's like communication. That's my view. I wanted even to spin it back over to Bigg to close it up too, because he posted something to show up. So Bigg, what is your last and final closing?
I think in closing and to wrap up, I think that there were some key points that that could help us all with our kids and with kids that are around us, because I'm a foundational person, but when listening to Alexis and even listening to Chris, some of the things they said, you also have to be in tune with the world. It's not all about just laying the bricks. You got a lot of kids to lay some mortar along with it, because the generations change. Just like the mortar that was back in 1980s, they got a better product now. So we got to be able to adapt and be able to help the kids adjust. Like Chris was saying, keep them guide them, we lived a lot more. We've experienced more, and we can still give them great guidance. So I think that's the key point to roll with, is to listen, to find out what the issues are, and don't just, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this. We need to find out what the issue is, and then help them to get down the easiest path with the information. It's their choice at that point, because sometimes they still gonna take the hard path, but that's gonna be something they'll be able to take with them to share with the next generation. That's one thing we gotta consistently stay ahead of, is let our current kids know that in addition to what I'm doing with you, you're going to need to be doing this for somebody else. So pay close attention. So with that being said, I'm going to pass it over to Brother Chris.
Now, y'all know the saying, if you stay ready, you won't have to get ready. Y'all need to get established.
This has been another episode of the Get Established Show. Today's topic was how to effectively communicate with your kids. We hope we brought across some good ideas and a good conversation that you can actually take back and apply, and just try to be more open. There's a lot going on with our kids today, more than at any generation or any point in time. So we have to be able to take the information and help them. So with that, we got two special guests we want to give it up to today. We got Charles Big Bro Sneed, and we got Alexis Devine in the room with us today to help us get through this conversation, and as well as my brother Chilla. We'd like you to like this video. Check us out on all the platforms. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We're on, where else we on, Chris? Instagram,
yeah.
So like the video, subscribe, and share, and also communicate. We got a comments box below. Come on and talk with us in the comments, and let's expand the conversation. So from all of us to all of you, this is from your favorite internet uncles, and we look like we got a new internet aunt. This has been the Get Established Show. Thank you for being with us, and have a great week.
Raymond was like, oh, Garrett ain't gonna be here either. I said, what? I said, oh, Bigg and Chris gonna be acting foolish. I said, I can't do this. That's why this more
too.